And at Harvey Norman, we're matching all competitors' prices, even their sale prices, so why shop anywhere else? Shop online at harveynorman.ie or safely in our spacious stores, open until 6 p.m. daily for home appliances and essential technology.
Go!
The battle for the Premier League is wide open. Don't miss any of the action with the Now TV, Sky Sports and Sports Extra Pass. Now half price for 3 months.
But he's pulled it back instead to Pogba! Oh, what a finish that is from Paul Pogba!
Only pay for the games you want. It's your sport on your terms with Now TV. Search Now TV Sports to find out more. 18 plus, content streamed via internet. Standard pricing after 3 months. Further terms apply.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now we're talking Australian Open, which is underway and going relatively smoothly thus far. Christopher Clarey of the New York Times is back with us. Christopher, great to have you with us.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Very well. 30,000 fans per day getting in to watch the tennis. It all seems eerily normal in there.
Yeah, I mean, eerily normal in the sense of what we've seen in the last year now, I guess, because it's still, a lot of empty seats. They're below half capacity. Lots of testing went into this and lots of quarantines and everything else. So anything but normal in terms of a lot of the background. But I guess if you're watching the matches and hearing the roars, like Nick Kyrgios last night playing late night match against the young Frenchman Hubert, it felt pretty much like business as usual. You're right that way.
I did want to ask you about Kyrgios. So he's entertaining off the court, certainly. It seems a lot of his matches are well worth watching as well. I didn't catch this match last night, but I was reading a piece about it, and you're reading things like, following his underarm serve in the fourth game, he urged an already boisterous crowd to bring the noise. 5 games later, he repeated the gesture before Humbert served to save break point. Chest out, shoulders back. He was in his element. And even Kyrgios himself said, I don't know how I did that. That was one of the craziest matches that I've ever played. So he seems like a pretty entertaining watch. Serving underarm, what's this about? That's
kind of gathering some steam. Again, obviously, anybody who followed tennis for a long time remembers Michael Chang doing it against Ivan Lendl back when he won the French Open when he was, a teenager. But it kind of fell out of use for a long time, and now it's coming back again. And Kyrgios has been one of the guys popularizing it. It's flashy and it's cheeky, but it's also logical in the sense that a lot of guys are staying way, way back to return now. So there is an opening. They're so fast and quick, you got to hit it just right. But Kyrgios has used it. A number of guys are using it now. There's a bunch of people who've tried it in matches who've never tried it before. I think it's a bit of a fad, but it does make sense based on where guys like Nadal and Thiem stand when they return. But he's just, Joe, he's great value. Not always the easiest person to deal with in the media in terms of how he respects us and answers questions sometimes. And he can be, very much a loose cannon off the court, but he's off a loose cannon in a good way on the court, if you ask me. Has had some times when he hasn't tried his hardest, and that's not a good thing at all. But generally, when he's into a match, he is so versatile and so explosive and so charismatic. You just can't take your eyes off him. And last night, I mean, I'm not on site this year, but I definitely thought it was an amazing match to watch. And that's his court, really. It's funny. It's not Rod Laver Arena, not the main court. It's the third biggest court there, sort of the equivalent of number 3 court at Wimbledon. But he loves it there. He's close to the public. Wasn't a full house, but it sounded like it last night, and he had saved a match point and ends up winning. So he's a guy that is always worth watching, if you ask me.
Are these underarm serves then, in effect, drop shots?
Exactly. No, they really are. And a lot of people are using them in the, not a lot, but when it's used in the ad court. So it can kind of slice away for right-hander to the backhand. And, some guys like Bublik, this tall, huge serving guy from Kazakhstan, has been using it on clay indoors everywhere because he's such a big serve. It's a great sort of a change of pace for him. And I think it surprises people. But the more guys do it, the more players are going to adjust. But I do think we'll keep seeing it for a while.
I have watched more Nick Kyrgios press conferences than I have Nick Kyrgios tennis matches, which says probably something about Nick Kyrgios. Does he have the talent and the temperament to go on and win a Grand Slam?
Oh, he has incredible talent. The problem is sustaining it. He doesn't have a formal coach. I'm not sure he's always put in all the hard yards some of his competitors have off the court. But I know in terms of shot making, all the top players are fearful of him. They know what he can do. He's beaten all of them, and he knows that he can do it. And he has, easy points he can win with his serve, great quick motion. He's got huge forehand, amazing touch at the net, drop shots, and a very deceptively good two-handed backhand, which looks a bit awkward, but he really can smack through it without a whole lot of effort. So, the game and the tools are there. His footwork isn't always as precise as it might need to be, but he's somebody who, definitely has the talent to win a Grand Slam on a fast surface someday. If he keep his head together.
Serena Williams is easing her way into the tournament. She's not dropping many sets. I guess is looking reasonably sharp now at 39 years of age. Venus, left in tears, seemed to sprain her ankle and lost in straight sets to an Italian player. So that's Venus bowing out. Will we see her again, do we think, for the rest of the season she's continuing?
I've stopped making predictions about the Williams sisters because, you write them off and they just sort of take that as fuel, I think. And, Venus has always marched to her own drummer since she came on the circuit as a teenager. And I really don't, expect to see her retire, right away or anything like that. I think she'll try to fight through this latest injury. She's put a lot of work into her game in the last year, coming through the pandemic and everything else. Got a relatively new coach.
Okay.
But she is 40 years old, and you can see last night, she was, even before she got injured and hurt her ankle, she already had some knee problems. She wasn't, moving great, but she's still a great ball striker and loves to compete. And her sister, Serena, who's her measuring stick, is still out there. So they are very much a pair still after all these years in terms of how they view the game.
Yeah.
And Serena has looked very good, looks pretty fit, hitting the ball well, but she hasn't really had a test yet. And she's got a potentially brutal draw here kind of in the mid phase of the tournament. She plays a 19-year-old Potapova from Russia, very feisty, fiery, talented player. Serena's a favorite in that match, but then she gets potentially Sabalenka, and then she could maybe have to play Halep, and then maybe have to play Naomi Osaka, or maybe Iga Swiatek if she doesn't have to play Halep as well. So she's got a bunch of players in the next few rounds that back-to-back that could be very, very tough to get through. So we'll see. I think she's definitely an underdog.
Do we underappreciate Venus a little bit because of Serena?
Yes, of course. I think so. That's probably because, I think they did coincide, and they are seen as a pair, and Serena has definitely had the better career in terms of her number of Grand Slams won. It's 23-7, and she's had much, much longer runs at number one, many more titles, has been a factor all throughout her career, whereas Venus has had some periods when she was really off the radar. But I think we have to admire them both for still being here and competing and playing through all kinds of eras and changes in the game.
The home crowd are obviously hoping that Ash Barty comes through and wins. She's the world number one. How do you see this tournament unfolding based on early impressions and the opening exchanges?
Barty's, it's a crazy thing. I mean, talk about a COVID situation. I mean, she's barely played in the last year and she's still number one. I mean, because of the way they play with the ranking system. So, it's really hard to know. She looked fantastic in her opening match. She won 6-love against Kovanic, and she definitely looked like she was very, very sharp. The court is quick, according to most of the players, and relatively low bouncing. And with her game, she's got a backhand slice that really dies and sticks and stays low. And so I think that could be a big help to her if she plays well. But to come off such a long layoff and win the Australian Open with the pressure she'll have on her down the stretch, that's a big ask. So she could do it. She has the game for it. But there are an awful lot of strong candidates in women's tennis right now who played a lot more tennis than she has.
So the men's draw then, aside from Kyrgios, who's catching your eye, Chris?
Well, I mean, it's really, there are a couple of guys there. And Djokovic, of course, going for his latest Australian Open. You can never count him out in this tournament. He's definitely the favorite and deserves to be. But as to what I just said with the fast surface, could be interesting because he's got Taylor Fritz, big serving, big hitting American in the next round. Then he could have to play Milos Raonic in the round after that, and maybe Alexander Zverev in the quarters. So that's three guys in a row who can really bring it on the serve and really bring a lot of power on this kind of a court. Novak's a great, great returner. He's the favorite in all those matches until proven otherwise, but there could be some challenges there. Other guy you got to watch is Daniil Medvedev, who has been so great on hard courts. He's on a big winning streak now, having won the year-end championships in the ATP last year in London and having played just fantastic tennis in the ATP Cup start of the year here. And he's just loves the hard courts, has beaten all the top guys, and definitely has beaten Novak recently as well. So he's definitely another guy to watch.
Federer's obviously not taking part. Rafa Nadal is. He's hoping to surpass Federer's Grand Slam tally. His back seems to be acting up, so he's not looking so hot physically.
You know, if Rafa plays, Rafa's a threat. And he's got a nice draw. It's in a nice section down below where he can work his way into the tournament. Nobody, devastating down there. He can really knock him out early unless he doesn't play a great match. I think Rafa has looked, the court might be playing a little fast for him. He likes a bit of a higher bounce potentially, but, we'll see how it all plays out. I would put him, personally, I'd put him behind Novak and Medvedev. And that's in that category. And I think Tsitsipas has looked very good as well, the Greek player in recent months and the last couple of seasons, and I think he's due. So it could be a fascinating men's tournament down the stretch. I'm not sure if it'll be as interesting as the women in the middle parts.
Okay. It's interesting you're mentioning there how the court is playing regarding a few different players. Does how the court plays change year to year?
Yeah, you wouldn't think it should, because basically it's the same kind of company laying it down, usually over time. But in this case, enough people have mentioned it. And Djokovic has obviously played at the Australian Open for well over a decade, and he made a point of mentioning it after his match last night. And I think he feels like might be a little too quick for his absolute comfort zone. But Novak's a multiple Wimbledon champion, has won on everything, so can't count him out. But it definitely is. Every year they redo the surface. They'll put in a new top layer and redo all the courts, and so there can be a different sort of speed that can emerge there. Not a huge difference, but enough for these guys to notice it.
And you watch a lot of tennis. Does one type of surface make for better hardcourt tennis than the other?
I just think the game needs variety, Joe. I think if you have one kind of thing all the time, one uniform surface, maybe that's the ultimate, fair decision in a way, but I think it's not as exciting for the viewer and not as, maybe inspiring for the players. You want to see throughout the course of a season, some faster hard courts. You want to see some slower ones as well. Courts where guys who attack the net and play a more aggressive game can get rewarded. A guy like a Shapovalov, this young Canadian player who's spectacular to watch, but very aggressive. And you want to see courts where a guy like Nadal, who's got a more of a baseline focused game, can thrive. So I think it's hard courts is where you can really play with the speed a bit more. Obviously, a clay court, it's a little trickier in terms of it's going to be relatively slow most of the time. But I think the game needs that because it can get a bit repetitive otherwise.
Yeah. Clay and grass, obviously, we can see how it changes. With the US Open and with the Australian Open, does one or the other traditionally have a certain style that you would expect? Like, does a US Open court strive to play a certain way, I suppose, as opposed to an Australian one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, for a long time, they were more similar, the Aussie and the US. And then for a while there, I think they'd sort of diverged, I'd say, sort of in the mid-2000s to mid-2010s there, where I think this Australian Open became a bit slower, a bit higher bounce, a little grittier. US Open remained, I'd say, the fastest of the four. And now, based on what I'm seeing lately, the Australian Open starting to pick up the pace a little bit. So I think they're getting closer again. And I think if the Grand Slams of both of them are a little bit similar, I think that's okay. But I think during the course of the season, there's so many hard court tournaments. Most indoor events now are played on hard courts that are laid down. We definitely need that variety in the sport to keep it different types of players and styles thriving.
Okay. Well, early exchanges. Let's check in as things heat up down in Australia. Chris Clarey of the New York Times. Thanks again.
You bet, Joe. Good to see you.
Off the ball on News Talk.
People don't become successful by accident. You've got to know what you want. So take off your shoes, sit down, reach no further than your tablet, type in Skoda, and you've won. Smile about doing less while some other guy is doing loads. Yawn like you've never yawned before. Smile again about the offers from 0%. Then configure your perfect car and fill out the easy online finance application. It's never been easier to be successful. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit skoda.ie for further information.
There's always options and there's always alternatives. I mean, SSE Electricity proved that for us.
We saved on our bills, but just as importantly, we're stopping carbon going into the atmosphere.
Switch to 100% green electricity today and enjoy €270 welcome credit and 10% off electricity and gas. Free phone 1-800-818-466 or visit sseelectricity.com. This is Generation Green. EAB €1,797.88. Offer from the 15th to the 7th, 2019. Rates valid from the 1st to the 5th, 2020. Subject to change. 1 year standard unit rate discount for new home electricity and gas customers and direct debit and e-bill. For details of T's and C's, EAB, rates, exit fees, standing charge and green energy claims, see sscelectricity.com.
Banking on your bank always giving you the lowest loan rate? Well, think again. Spend less with Ireland's lowest rate on personal loans over €20,000 from Avantcard. With a loan from Avantcard, you could be saving thousands.
Apply today at avantcard.ie. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. New applications only. Info correct 18th of January 2021. Source ccpc.ie. Avantcard DAC trading as Avantcard is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Where does a good idea come from? At Square One, the award-winning design and development agency, a good idea can come from anywhere. That first meeting with the client as part of extensive research and talking to users. We take good ideas and turn them into great products. Maybe that's why Square One is trusted by some of Ireland's biggest brands. Everything starts at Square One. For online, web and mobile solutions, big and small, look for the number one. Find us on social and at square1.ie.
There's no better time for your family to be with VHI Healthcare. Get access to digital services from the comfort of your home, like our online doctors, available 7 days a week at no extra cost. And our urgent care facilities too, with fast, member-only access to our VHI Swift Care and paediatric clinics. Switch today. Call us or search VHI Family Health. Plan benefit limits apply. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
This Valentine's Day, treat that special someone to beauty technology they'll love from Dyson at Harvey Norman. Spoil them with hair care designed for less reliance on heat to help protect against heat damage, like the new Dyson Corral Straightener or the Dyson Airwrap Styler, now back in stock for $4.99 each. Or go all out with the limited edition red Dyson Supersonic Hairdryer for $3.99. Shop our full range of Dyson hair care online at harveynorman.ie or safely in store.
Go! Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back. FA Cup action ongoing. If you missed it earlier, Man City were 3-0 winners away to Swansea. Kyle Walker scored their first, Sterling scored their second, and Gabriel Jesus scored their third. So a 3-1 win away to Swansea. They're through to the next round of the FA Cup. 0-0 currently between Leicester City and Brighton. That's after 27 minutes. Also 0-0 between Sheffield United and Bristol City. 8:15 kick-off between Everton and Spurs, all in the FA Cup this evening. Next hour, Keith Wood and Niamh Briggs on Wednesday Night Rugby.
News Talk Extra, our email newsletter straight to your inbox. Sign up now at newstalk.com/extra.
When you get enough people together, you can achieve almost anything. Send someone like me into space or create change on the ground. People power, strength in numbers, whatever you want to call it, it works.
Together with over 1 million homes and businesses already with Electric Ireland, we're making changes for a brighter energy future. Be part of the change at electricireland.ie.
We're getting better at talking about our mental